Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
Hi everybody, welcome in to Journey Through the Gate. Hello Steve, my good friend, how you doing?
Hey everybody, welcome in. Hey Cisco, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, sweetie. You caught me drinking out of my Gatekeeper's mug here. I've got cappuccino with a little whipped cream and just a pinch of cinnamon.
McDonald's, my regular Monday libation there. It's a McDonald's mocha.
Nice, very nice. 'Tis the
Even though
season.
it's 30-something degrees outside, I'm drinking iced coffee.
Iced coffee? You know, I like those frappes that the Wawa has, the frozen ones, I'll tell you. But I keep forgetting they have espresso in them, so I just jot around here like a,
Off the walls.
like a chipmunk on cocaine. Everybody is rolling in here tonight. I see Chris Jarvis. I see Ian Myself. How you doing, guys? It's nice to see you. Maraid, are you kidding me? Honey, I think... Let's see. Some people are going to have wrenches that they didn't have before. Please use them wisely. We bop a troll quick. You don't have to ask me. You are now a part of the Black Ops wall of Gatekeeper mods. So if they come in here and they're being negative or, free speech is one thing, but just coming in here and attacking or, cussing
or if they're
something.
being too friendly.
Yeah, if they're being a little stalkerish, a little bit too stalkerish or something like that, just, you know the deal, time them out or, just straight up jerks block them. You don't even have to ask. We just rebuke that kind of crap around here. And if they get through to Aunt Edna, she's got a hammer. She bops them on the head like, what was that song? Little baby foo-foo hopping through the forest. Something about popping them on the head. Behold my blue wrench.
Bopping them on the head.
Look at Donnie. Behold my blue wrench. I have power. I'll tell you what, Donnie, you should be happy tonight because I don't know if a podcast has ever run an entire episode just to answer a question, but since you were so patient and such a wonderful gatekeeper for us, we went ahead and did a whole episode on your question. So there you go, love. And welcome to, is it Little Crabapple? Is that Donnie's new puppy's name? I think it's Crabapple. He might call him... Put the name up here, Donnie, so we can welcome him in as a new gatekeeper. I know Carol got a lovely Binksy. Just over the past couple weeks, new fur baby, kitten. And I thought what's going to be great is I want to ask everybody in the chat, if you're on Facebook, you have Messenger, put in your messages, your fur babies. Doesn't have to be for Christmas or anything else. And if you ever get a new one and you want them welcomed in, send the picture and I'm going to put them in the Gatekeeper gallery of Furry Gatekeeper Night, okay? And that is not a Tuesday night at Madame Marmalade's House of Pain either. It's just a Furry Gatekeeper. It's just Furry Gatekeeper Night. So thank you so much. Yes, it is Toby. So welcome Tobias Crabapple, Donnie's new little furry gatekeeper. Because I'll tell you,
right on.
If you think human beings can be gatekeepers, animals are the best gatekeepers of them all. So there you go. As far as guiding us and showing us unconditional love and, actually helping cross people back and forth and waiting for you on the other side. They're just wonderful people. All right, we have somebody, Judge Judy.
Hey, Judge Judy. I love your show.
Yeah, I love your show. I got some questions. Laura Elizabeth, let's see. Are you kidding me? I think you have a wrench. Somebody's got a wrench new. I think it was No Justice, No Peace.
Yeah.
So there you go. Drop links. Jackie, how you doing, sweetie?
Me. No Justice, No Peace will serve you well. She's the best.
She's a personal guard.
Business.
I understand. She's part of your personal guard. Personal bodyguard, part of your Secret Service. Excellent. Creepy Unsolved, Jeanette, how you doing? I think I caught everybody. If I missed you, please don't take it personal. It's just my eyes. It certainly isn't my love for this chat. Okay, so tonight, what are we doing, Steve? What are we talking about?
Well, hopefully we're not going to kill Jimmy Page, but that's a...
can't make any
He's
promises.
the only living person we'll be talking about tonight. So, well, I take that back.
I'm really scared at this point.
Kenneth Anger may still be alive, but
I don't want him
scared
pissed
of
at me.
him. Yeah.
I really don't.
Basically, talking to the Led Zeppelin curse,
Just
Jimmy
financials.
Page's affinity with Alister Crowley, and then the curse that actually came from Kenneth Anger that was placed on Jimmy Page, and how it affected the other members of Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, Laura asked me this morning for my address. She's always teasing me that she's sending hookers to your house. And she asked me for my address today. I said, please don't send hookers. And she said...
Amazon sent them to the wrong address. I never saw one of them.
And she just cracked up laughing. I said, well, I have to find something else. I said, just send them anyway. I'll get them to help me decorate the tree. And so the Uncommon Belief looked at me and he goes, they're going to look at you while they decorate. She says, it's still $100 an hour, right? And I'm like, yeah, we're cool.
When I lived in Vegas, I was in the casino one time. A girl walks up to me and she said, I'll do anything you want for $100. I said, good, come home with me. You're going to clean my gutters and paint my house.
Mairead, how do you not have a wrench, honey? See, I give these wrenches and YouTube taketh away. I don't understand how that's happening.
They will take them away sometimes. That's
you
weird.
have a wrench. You have a wrench now, love. You're good to go.
And you have a wrench.
You have a wrench, and you have a wrench. Except for, unlike Oprah's cars, my wrenches work. Okay, let's see. Oop, did I say that out loud? I did, didn't I? Did you hear that? That most of the cars broke down first like 10, 25 miles.
I heard that.
Yep. Okay, and Edna's here. Hello, darling. How do you? And Jose.
Down first, like
Oop,
10,
oop, oop.
25 miles.
Oop. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think we're good. I wanted to get the housekeeping out of the way first so we can get on this great conversation. For sure, the most important thing that's happening right now is, of course, the tornadoes that hit, that monster tornado F5 that hit. Now, I know, Steve, you're from Tennessee. Are all your people okay? What's going on?
Yeah, it was more in Middle Tennessee, over near the Kentucky border, close to where my dad's from. I don't know. I don't think any of his people still live over there. The family farm still there. We've got about 990 acres that backs up to the Big South Fork National Park, which is there on the Cumberland River on the Kentucky border. As far as I know, they're all okay. I don't talk to my family much. I just,
right.
That's kind of, I think, a choice by both of us, but I assume they're okay. If they needed something, they would have been in touch with me. I did talk to my niece, and as far as she knows, everybody's okay.
Right.
Bill Melder.
Yeah, we need to know how Bill's doing. Thank you. Go ahead.
Another half of Missing Persons and Mysteries. Their back porch got some damage, and the gas station just down the street across the corner from them was leveled. But and they went without power for a couple of days. I think the internet is still down, like up and down. But past couple of days, he's been going over into Kentucky with his partner, and they've been giving out gift cards for so people can go get water, food, whatever they need, and been helping people clear away rubble and things like that. Bill's a good guy. He's taken up a collection for these people, so it's not some kind of sketchy GoFundMe or something like that. You know that's going straight to the people. Bill's doing the distribution.
Right, and if you request, he's actually stated that he would give you books if you wanted. Of course, most of our people aren't going to ask for a thing, but if you do, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. He's offered that. If you donate,
he's going to give you one of mine and his best-selling books.
Right.
But go over to Missing Persons and Mysteries in the community tab.
Drop that link, guys.
Community tab on the YouTube channel over there. There's contact information, PayPal. I think his Cash App, things. I've had people...
Yeah, we were dropping them last night like crazy. We dropped his PayPal link and we dropped the link to his YouTube so they could read it in his words. And then I believe there was a couple of our mods that were actually talking to him last night through email. And said he was having a hard time. He had dispersed most of what he had, and he was waiting to see what the next ones were. We were suggesting through that he hang on and collect as much pet food as he gets hands on for the displaced animals. A lot of those no-kill shelters are going to have to hold these animals till the people can get in a place where they can keep them again. That's always something we forget about. So
bad situation. Last numbers I thought I think 64 dead.
Right.
Expected to rise.
There is some better news was not good at all, because from what I got, and forgive me if I'm wrong on this, because I certainly, I'm just picking information where I can find it. The candle factory hit me a lot too, because everybody was in there and they said they really didn't have a place to go as far as a shelter like a basement or something along the lines. They were all told to get into the center aisle, I guess. Innermost wall is what you normally keep hearing. Innermost wall. If you have a tub, get in a tub. If you have something, you want to get down or whatever. But this stuff was leveled. And there was a lot of people that they thought they had lost so many more in that building because it was hit direct with this thing, right broadside. So that building was, and everybody was working, since it's so hard to get people to work right now, everybody was working overtime and overnight shifts, and that's what happened. But so far, it seems like 8 have passed, but a lot more they thought had lost. They had already gone home when they got the alarm instead of staying there. So that's some good news anyway. That's what I have there.
Casey says she's still waiting for the book that she ordered days ago. Amazon handles fulfillment on all those books, so I would email them if it doesn't show up within the next day or two. And I apologize for that, but that's truly out of our hands.
Mm-hmm. And here's Centurion Eagle. I love the...
Where did the road go?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Where Did the Road Go episodes with Cisco and Steve. I'm so surprised to find not only is there a podcast with them, but this podcast has so many fans here, too. There's 25 in the chat. You bet there is, and it's 25 of the best people that you'd ever want to sit in a chat with. This is a family here, and welcome in, Centurion, and you're a gatekeeper now, too, so there you go. And that's it. People here are saying, wish I had money to send. Too. Don't worry about that. Send love, send prayer,
prayers,
send
whatever you can.
Information, share the links.
There's all kinds of ways to help.
Wait, because there's going to be more help that's needed later on. This is, your first couple of days of crazy cleanup and, search and recovery and things like that. It's, so that's the thing. But again, for what Centurion just said, if it wasn't for Zariah, you wouldn't be sitting here right now with me and Steve, because he's the one who got us together.
Zariah introduced us, and he's like, I've got somebody I think you'd enjoy talking to. And Cisco had been on his show and told some stories, I think, and we exchanged phone numbers and then actually called one another. It was on a Sunday. I remember that. I was sitting out on my back porch. I lived right in Portland in southeast in the Sowood neighborhood. And it was dark by the time we finally hung up. I think we talked for like 7 hours, so we can talk. And then we've got a show coming up with My Third Eye. We were on his show. I was on as a guest. And as a surprise, he brought Cisco in. What did we end up doing over there? Like 4.5 hours?
Gosh, I think so. I think so. We just did that the other night. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, I don't think it's released yet. Also, Centurion Eagle, I've got a couple of other channels. 13 Past Midnight's my personal channel. I go live every night at midnight Eastern on there with 9 Lives of Sandy. She's my co-host over there. And then also Missing Persons and Mysteries. That's the big channel. We've just passed 131,000 subscribers. I narrate missing person stories and other mysterious stuff over there. So check those out, too. If you like what we do here, you'll love all of it.
Yep, and if you wouldn't mind, while you're in here, if you sub to the channel, I sure could use it. Anytime, we have just got to the point, this chat and our listeners here have organically grown this channel. I didn't pay anybody to lift me up. I didn't do it. And a lot of people do. I mean, when you start getting into the Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, all that stuff, it's such a crazy bureaucracy. This is organic. We come on, we're twice a week usually. I do a Sunday live and I do Monday live always with my friend Steve. And we just come in here and, yesterday, we were healing migraines and helping cats feel better last night. It was an amazing time in here last night.
Prior weeks, we dropped an iceberg on some people, and then last week we killed Mike Nesmith. So it's like,
I'm so sorry. It was totally unintentional. But right before we get into, we've got a great slideshow, a new feature here on StreamYard, and I worked all day to try to figure it out, and I think we got a pretty nice little slideshow for you guys, so you can have some pictures to go along with this great information Steve's brought and we've dug up about our subject. But tonight, just to get it, to put it up front, because it's most important, I wanted to go ahead and throw down that minute of drone footage I have for you guys. Again, I know I showed it last night, but there are people here that weren't here last night, and vice versa, so I'd love to put that out there, and this is why. Not to drudge up the sadness, but I figure it's the only way that we can kind of connect in to that situation. And while we're doing that, you send your private prayer, your private thoughts, your energy, your good healing vibes towards that. And also at the same time, let's not try to forget how doggone lucky we are just to be sitting here tonight, to be sharing this lovely company with this wonderful chat, my wonderful friend Steve, and you know, everything that we have. Like I said, like Laura said last night, go to bed counting your blessings tonight, instead of, you know, because that's not just what Christmas time and stuff is about, holidays and Hanukkah, but it's about living in the light instead of in the darkness. There's going to be bad things that happen, but like we said last night, what Mr. Rogers' mom told him, bad things happen, look for the helpers. The helpers are coming. So the helpers are out there. Bill's boots on the ground. If you don't have anything to send him, that's fine. Wait. He's going to need some later. This isn't going away anytime really soon. And like I said, too, if you just want to pick out a no-kill shelter that, you know, are taking animals in out there, send it directly to them. Or, you know, have a Walmart deliver a 10-pound bag of food or something. So you're not, your money goes where.
Things. You can gift stuff through there.
Anything you want.
Hey, Oracles and Beyond. Good to see you, Cassie.
Hey, Cassie. How you doing, sweetheart? So here we go. It's just a minute, and you know, it's amazing how we're each only like a second away from our knees. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. God bless them all. Well, there you go. It kind of pretty much leaves you speechless, don't it, man?
Devastating footage, yeah, indeed. It'll take years to ever get back like it was. A lot of work ahead of those folks. But
so much, you know, in the chat they're saying it's hard to watch again. Peter here has an idea that they donated to the Tri-Cities No Kill Network, that they are top rated and experience a surge of new fur babies over the last couple of days. So that's it. You know, all I'm saying is just research where you're going. Don't fall for any GoFundMe's. Be careful, you know, because money is so precious to everybody right now. You know, nobody here is rich, and you know, so be careful. Even if it's just maybe finding a family, you know, that you can help out or whatever. So, but basically, I was thinking about the animals right now because they get forgotten in the beginning and in the middle. So, just in case. So there you go, Steve.
Yeah, and be careful, like she said, of the NoFundMe or the GoFundMe's and some of that stuff. And that's just terrible to me that people will take a tragedy or something
Yeah.
like this and use it for their own personal gain. In my opinion, they ought to be horsewhipped.
Exactly. Absolutely. So there you go. Pete, I wish I could give my time. I think that's the most valuable in situations like this, but unfortunately I'm overloaded right now in all the facets of my life. True, exactly. That's what's happening. But there will be people who gather and go. Like we said, in every single one of these situations, you're going to start hearing the good that comes from the heroes that are born, the good stories of people going out of their way to return a small thing that they know means something to somebody. So I know I've been in something similar to this, and it only takes a second. So this time is so precious. Like we said last night, the Ghost of Christmas Present told us we better pay attention to now because it's real important. It goes by in a flash, right, Steve?
That's right.
So there's that. So as Steve was saying, it's not funny, and believe me, I'm not making light of it, but boy, when we talk about the Titanic and then ghosts apparently kick over an iceberg and crush some people, send them to the hospital during the podcast, then
Right
we
at
start
the instant we were talking about the place that it
Exactly.
happened, the very minute.
Right, exactly at that. And then last week, tell them what happened here, Steve. We've got this little slideshow up here, and the first slide is this one here.
We were talking about Mike Nesmith of the Monkees. We were talking about the music scene in Laurel Canyon, which he and the other Monkees were a big part of, and then the lore surrounding the Monkees. Stephen Stills tried out for them, and he had bad teeth and didn't make it. Charles Manson tried out for the Monkees, but he was too short. They already had the short one in what's his name? What's the little guy's name? I can't remember.
Davy Jones.
Davy Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And we mentioned Peter Tork, of course, and Mickey Dolenz. I think Peter's already dead. I think he died a couple of years ago. As far as I know, Mickey's still alive. But like the day after, a couple of days after, that's what pops up on the news. And they're wearing a wool hat tonight out of respect for Mike Nesmith. There, I think he
there
always
you go.
wore the green one with the pom-pom on it. But,
There you go.
But tonight, when I was looking for the show to put the link out on Facebook, when it popped up on here, and I think Cisco has a picture of it there.
Which one is it, love?
The one that I sent you where I was looking up your show, and then the news thing came up right under it.
Okay, that's Led Zeppelin Curse. Oh, the picture. Yeah, I didn't have that picture up. I'm sorry.
I've got it here on my...
Go ahead and share it, and I'll pop them up. Let me take this one down because that was staggering. Yeah.
And it just...
Thank you. No justice, no peace. Says I
one
look
of those
adorable.
things.
Thank you, darling.
No, that's a video.
While you're doing that, T-Rex was asking, they have more storms coming Wednesday. I've also heard parts of California going to get 100 inches of snow. Pretty sure that's more toward the north, mountains and such. We're
No,
supposed
Justice,
to get
you
hit.
better look out. She lives
Yeah.
in the mountains in California, so...
We've got something. Okay, and I think T-Rex wanted to know, my local shelter wants to send a donation. Where can she send it? I don't know, sweetheart. Peter just said, I went ahead and threw Peter a wrench so she could drop a link. She said that she had a no-kill shelter there for the tri-state. Pete, if you have a link to that or can come up with something, throw it up there. You have a wrench now, honey, so you can go ahead and put a link.
I'm not finding it on my computer. Let me just go ahead and show it here.
It was a trip. Look
No,
at this, guys.
There's Cisco's show, like the link for tonight, live in 63 minutes. I was getting ready for it. But
Yep.
directly below that,
Look at that.
Michael Nesmith of the Monkees dies. And the other weird synchronicity, that
Look at
YouTube channel is from WBIR Channel 10 TV in Knoxville, Tennessee, my hometown.
Where
So
Steve is from.
Another little synchronicity there, but just...
I mean, at
what are
what
the
point?
odds that it would
Yeah.
pop
At
up that
what
and then
point-
the other stuff down below there? The first one is Michael Nesmith dies and you guys killed me. YouTube is blaming us for it.
Yeah, YouTube knows something we don't know. I mean,
So,
I don't.
Jimmy Page
it's
needs
so
to get his
crazy.
shit together if he's listening tonight.
He better
He's
batten down his hatches.
Mike was 80. He had a good run. Jimmy's
God bless 'em all.
78, I think. But we're going to be talking
And I
about
promise
him
you,
tonight.
I
So,
never mentioned Anne Rice on this show.
yeah,
And nothing to
you
do
should
with
put
it.
that on Facebook this morning. He said, disclaimer, we never talked about her on the show.
I thought about it, but because I was going to do vampires, but that was as close as it got. So there it is. I don't know, Jeanette. It's been crazy. She says it's like you guys' weird stuff happens are all cursed. I know. I don't get it.
Kids.
We do nothing but put love out here, and then boy, we do a show on somebody. So anyway, disclaimer ahead of time. Jimmy Page, I'm so sorry.
Sorry,
Here we go. Now, you wanted to talk to us about the Led Zeppelin curse. Now, I've heard about this. Now, in the 70s, I would hear things. Most of the time, like we said, it's different then than it is now. Information you got from either there was some kind of an interview on the radio, a radio DJ gave you a little bit of information, you picked it up in Cream magazine or Heavy Metal magazine or something, or it was in The Song Remains the Same. I remember when Song Remains the Same came out in the movie theater. That's all anybody talked about in high school. Mm-hmm. And you had the people talk about Song Remain the Same, and the people talk about Rocky Horror Picture Show, and the people just talk about Rocky.
Yeah,
I mean, that was your group.
That at midnight movies. You had, when I was in high school, it was Pink Floyd's The Wall, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Occasionally there would be something different like The Who, Quadrophenia, or something like that.
Yeah.
But,
Tommy came out, was real big then. I thought that was this big bag of garbage.
Another popular midnight show was Song Remains the Same. You meet up with your friends, drink a quart of malt liquor out in the parking lot, roll on up, and then go in.
Yeah.
and watch
bring
Zeppelin on the
pizza.
big screen.
Dad's station wagon turned around backwards, had the pizza out on the tailgate and stuff. Yeah, we used to do stuff like that all the time. But that was the thing. You only heard it in pieces. So I didn't get the whole thing on the curse. So if you wanted to start with, because I think the curse came after this, did it not, when he purchased?
It was kind of already in the making.
Okay.
Lance Gilbert, the guy that wrote that book, he just had the cover up there for. He's a friend of mine, and I know we've tried to have him on before.
That's true.
But he's in New Zealand, and he's in some kind of weird time zone. He's like a day and a half ahead of us or something like that, and we never could get it to work out to where there was a time that we would have to go on like at 5 a.m. our time or something in order for him to do it. But he pointed out some really interesting things to me about Song Remains the Same.
Okay.
If the one scene in there where Jimmy Page is taking a violin bow to his electric twanger there, and he's making all these weird noises.
Taking a bow to his what?
His electric twanger, his guitar. I'm just being silly there.
Be careful there. Be careful.
The other twanger.
Okay.
But if you notice, he turns around and he points the violin bow. Mm-hmm. What he's doing, and I didn't think about. I thought he was just being flashy. He's Jimmy Page. He does stuff like that. He was known for elaborate costumes and had quite a stage presence. But my friend Lance pointed out, said what he's actually doing there, he's doing a magical working. He's using the violin bow like a wand. Like a wand. And he's calling the winds from the four corners. And you think about that. I don't know how many Madison Square Garden holds, but it's quite a few. Probably, 25,000 people. Yeah. You've got all those people in there and all that energy. And he's doing some kind of magic ritual on the stage, making all this weird, ethereal, unearthly noises with his guitar and a violin bow. And then he's using that bow like a wand. He was doing something there. He cast spells and things on his own. But now the way he got cursed from originally, a man named Kenneth Anger, who was a filmmaker. He had dealings with the Manson family.
I got his picture. Hold on. Whoop, there he goes.
There he goes. And
I was actually afraid to download this picture. I thought my whole my phone and laptop was going to be possessed by it.
Just a frightening looking dude. He has the name Lucifer tattooed across his chest.
Oh my gosh.
And he got that like back in the 60s when people just weren't getting those kind of tattoos and stuff. He made some really strange films, Invocation of My Demon Brother, and then the one that he was working on was called Lucifer Rising, which was his ode or paean to Satan or whatever, and Jimmy Page had agreed to do the soundtrack for it. Well, at some point, either Jimmy didn't do what he wanted him to do, or there was some kind of falling out there, and they had a big row over it, and that's when he told Jimmy, he's like, okay, that's fine, but I'm going to put a curse on you.
He did, too.
And he did. That was the start of it. Another something of him that you may have heard of, a really famous book called Hollywood Babylon.
Okay.
That's just, if you've never seen it, it goes back into the 40s, 50s, and even beyond that or behind that, to all the strange deaths and stuff going on in Hollywood. But he's quite the character. But he admits it. He said, "I put a curse on Jimmy Page."
Yeah. And things
And
did really start to go wrong after that. I mean, it really did. I mean, to the point where now Richie Blackmore's Rainbow also had something to do. And was he recording at the house that Jimmy Page got, the old Alister Crowley house, or was it this dude's house? Because he also owned a house that Crowley had.
Yeah, They were. That was how they met. I think they were at an auction trying to outbid each other for some of Crowley's effects. Jimmy had a huge, like a museum-worthy collection of Aleister Crowley effects. He had wands and capes and books and things that had belonged
his
to
ceremonial
Crowley.
robes, which is this is probably one of them.
And Page even had a bookstore that he had opened in the UK that dealt with magic and things like that, because he was tired of not being able to find the book he wanted. He just opened his own bookstore and then had people go out all over the world and find these rare and twisted volumes and stuff and put them in his bookstore. But the ultimate souvenir there, he bought Boleskine Manor, which was Aleister Crowley's house.
Okay, let me go back to this one.
Shores of Loch Ness.
There it is there. That's it from the front. Of course, he's standing in front. That's what it looked like when he bought it. Okay, this was like what it looked like about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it burned. I think they've started reconstruction on it. It'd been, I think, an abbey or rectory at one time, and that really floated Crowley's boat, because
there's Crowley.
He was able to take something that had been used for religious purposes and then repurpose it for his own dark purposes. And the residents of Loch Ness were afraid of him and afraid of the house. They claimed that they had walked by the house during the daytime, and it would be dark inside even during the daytime, that no light could get into the house at all. It was like it was filled with darkness. And Page was kind of scared of the place. It wasn't so much fun, and he found out after he got it. And he had a caretaker that stayed there for him, and all kinds of bad things happened to that guy. He ended up abandoning the job because he saw some stuff in there that he won't even talk about that scared him.
That's awful. Now, I think, like I said, I'm not sure which place it is. I know it was an Aleister Crowley house, so I'm thinking it was the Page one. But this other guy had one too over, in a different part of Britain, did he not? Like off and away.
So. And Crowley's one of those. He stayed a lot of places. He was all over Paris. He was all over the UK. And in fact, that's one of the other rumors about him. A certain politician's wife, her mother supposedly met and partied with him in Paris in the 1920s. Right. And if you put a picture of him up there, you can kind of see resemblance. It's been refuted in the press. And
you mean like that one?
You got to admit, there is definitely a resemblance between Barbara Bush and Aleister Crowley. And it's been proven that her mother did know Crowley and met him in Paris in the 20s when she was visiting over there. So, I don't know. They look a lot alike to me.
Yeah, they do. You just put the wig on him. Might improve him, too. We have somebody here, Tim Houston. Hi, welcome in. How you doing? I can't see it. It's too small. Let me pull that back up so I can read it. There was a magician named Crowley whose followers thought he was holy, but others dismissed him for building a system that he was the master of solely. This is him.
Nice limerick there, Tim. I've never heard that.
Yeah, that's really good. But this is the dude. I mean, he died in 47, right?
Yeah, he was.
And then he became
to be the wickedest man alive. And this was at a time when you had people like Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin, and then for somebody to come out and say that he was the wickedest man alive, that was well earned. I mean, he was all about debauchery.
And he had 2 wives, I think, at the time he died. Of course, he was gay, and he was open and fluid at that time. And in 47, it was, to say that you were bisexual and all this other stuff out loud.
Then, for one, and it was also considered a mental illness back in, as most recently, I think, is the DSM-4, I believe. homosexuality was classified as a mental illness. That's changed in recent years. But yeah, he was into anything bad or evil or whatever was the opposite of good
Right.
for the times that he lived in.
That was one of the big draws I heard, though, to him at that time, because, of course, a lot of people that are feeling that they can't be themselves, and then they find a group of people where they can be themselves. Of course, that's always a lure. And it's a lure even if you're, if you're a 10, 11-year-old kid on the streets in the city and you don't have a family, or your family's always working, or for whatever reason absent due to drug abuse, whatever reason, you're looking for a group to become part of as a family. And that's why gangs get people so easily at a young age, and in any culture you can imagine. So this guy's drawing in all these people, and then just like any cult, I guess, just warping their minds, and they bring them in. Yeah, exactly. It is.
He started, he had the different religions and things. He wrote books that he supposedly channeled from this creature that almost looked like a gray alien in the drawings that Crowley did of him. But he had the ear and the mind of a lot of people from the 60s era. In fact, I think it's Led Zeppelin 4. If you look on the run-out groove of the vinyl album, one side it says, "Do what thou wilt," and then on the other side, "Shall be the whole of the law." That was Crowley saying. John Lennon has also used that quote in stuff. And another Beatle connection there. Paul McCartney has a musical pseudonym called the Fireman. Now look at that picture there. That's Crowley.
That's Crowley. I don't know how old he was there. Was he about 23?
That's Crowley in his early 20s.
In early 20s. And then here's the next.
Look at the resemblance to Paul McCartney.
Yep, and it says here, wait a minute, 1 second here. Could this occult writer really be the inspiration for the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper? Now, that's another thing with Crowley. But here it is, together. Look at that.
There's some photos where the resemblance is even more striking. But McCartney has a musical pseudonym called the Fireman. And in that, it's kind of an avant-garde electronic project and stuff. And he has a song in there, or references from the magician's son, where Paul is sort of alluding to that Crowley was his father. Now, the dates are kind of close there, but I think it could have happened, maybe. But Crowley was a definite inspiration to not only Paul, but to John Lennon as well. Crowley's on the Sgt. Pepper's cover over next to Mae West. That's him. And in fact, some of the lyrics from the Sgt. Pepper, it was 20 years ago today. Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. They released the album on the 20th anniversary of Crowley's death.
Now, see, that's just not a coincidence. You know what I mean? And I had heard that live. I knew it as well as my own, because I was dating a guy in high school at the time that thought Richie Blackmore was, left hand of God, and as a guitar player, he was a great guitar player. I doubt he and God, were that close. But
they used to say the same thing about Clapton. There used to be little buttons. People wear say Clapton is God.
Right. That was a big thing in the 70s. So the thing is he was real big in that. And I remember that album, and they had said that while they were staying at the house recording, because that's what that whole thing was supposed to be. Page bought that house so everybody could record there. And remember, they were doing Houses of the Holy, and they were doing all that Tolkien stuff with the, that's where the whole Stairway to Heaven thing comes from. It's all about, almost like The Hobbit. It's all this Hobbit stuff, and, the sprinkling in the, during a May Clean. I always thought it was a May Queen, but it's not. It's May Clean. And, that kind of thing. So all of that was supposed to be going down at that house. So Blackmore and Rainbow are over there, and of course Deep Purple, all that's mixed in. They were all interchangeable, these guys, back and forth at the time. And they're in there recording this stuff, and they swear that Jimmy Page beforehand had summoned demons messing around, and while they were trying to record, that they were haunted. Now, this is the words they used. They were haunted and tormented by a first-level demon during their recording of this album, to the likes of, he would shut the microphones on and off and make things on the tape disappear that they had just recorded. Now, I'm sorry, If it's a first level demon, do you really think he's going to play with you by turning your microphones on and off, or maybe burst into flames somebody who's singing at a microphone? It didn't make any sense. The level of haunting didn't match up with what they said was doing it. So it really sounded like hype. Now, was it just haunted by something else? You can bet. But I'm just telling you right now, if it's an entity with that kind of negativity, it's not going to play with you just by flicking the lights on and off. You know what I mean? What do you think, Steve? That's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's who knows, but it's still frightening to think about. And then there were other things, supposedly that Jimmy Page talked the other members of Led Zeppelin into doing some sort of satanic ritual or Crowley-esque ritual to make themselves the biggest band in the world.
Yep.
And supposedly everybody did it except for the bass player.
Exactly.
And he's the only one that came through this unscathed.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something?
Yeah,
Look at that face.
We all know what happened to Bonzo, John Bonham. He died at a young age, drank himself to death, choked on his own vomit.
He supposedly drank from 12 o'clock noon till 12 o'clock midnight, and they propped him up with pillows. Yeah, that he was drinking vodka all day long. So
30 measures
30
of vodka.
shots. Yep.
Yeah, like double shots.
That's a lot of vodka, dudes. I mean, alcohol poisoning anybody?
And
What's
then,
Tim saying here?
Robert Plant had all kinds of things happen to him. He had a son that died under mysterious circumstances. Yes. He and his whole family were almost killed in a car crash. I think that was in Wales. And then said Jimmy's had his share of bad things happen to him as well. But I don't know. And supposedly the bass player was the only one that didn't partake of it, and he's the only one that didn't have any problems. And supposedly a lot of those things that happen are the reason that Robert Plant refuses to sing Stairway to Heaven anymore. Now, there's been stuff recently about supposedly Jimmy ripped that melody off from a band called Spirit that they had toured with when they were first starting out. But either way, Robert Plant came up with the lyrics, and he talked about he was just sitting there, and I'm not sure which place it was at, but he was writing, and he said it was like something out there just opened up and started pouring, and he said that just literally he sat and wrote it mainly from start to finish.
Yeah,
although there had been some talk beforehand that they wanted to put rock and roll in the song and things like that, since it's supposed to be a rock and not a roll and things like that. There are some little funny Easter eggs in there, but he claims that came from another realm or another dimension or something, that those lyrics was almost
he was channeling J.R.
automatic writing. Yeah.
Or a hobbit or something like that. But that's basically, a lot what it was like. But I can remember that Richie Blackmore was saying, too, that they were trying to torment one of their band members, and they were setting on tarot cards on fire and throwing them under the door and doing all these pranks and stuff till the guy finally just left. And I don't know how they ever got the album published, but when they did, they were doing little things like scratching in messages in the last ring of the album and stuff like that. Not verbal ones, but ones that you could actually see. If you look at old albums, sometimes there's a scratching on the inside where it has like a serial number or something like that in the actual vinyl itself, right before the center label. And they had written stuff in the album.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I think it's on Led Zeppelin 4 where Page had written. That's in Page's hand, too, that was written on the master. It says, do what thou will on one side and shall be the whole of the law on the other. That's pure Crowley. Okay. That's out of one of Crowley's books. But yeah, you can find all kinds of stuff out there. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's creepy. Sometimes it's just an Easter egg. I know the Clash on their double album. I'm
sorry, I'm laughing at Donnie
in space, here. Other side, no one. Third album or second album, first side, can hear. Last thing, you clash. In space, no one can hear you clash. It's just a joke that they put in there. But that thing, when that started, when people started finding out about that, I don't know how many people I knew that sat going through their vinyl collections with a magnifying glass trying to find stuff that was in the run-out room there that scratched into the master.
We had we had so much time on our hands, when they told us to stop playing our albums backwards and stuff like that.
I was just coming to that. Stairway to Heaven is probably the most played backwards song of all time. But that was something else that Crowley taught. There's a recording of him instructing some of his, I think it was when he was doing the Thelema type thing. He was saying that you should learn to walk backwards, to speak backwards, to talk backwards, and all this stuff. And then there you go. There's backwards messages in there.
There you go.
Same with the Beatles albums.
Yep. And that whole Paul is dead thing. And there was a thing here. I don't know if you had seen it because that's why I put it in here. Have you heard anything about this one, Steve? Was Crowley behind the whole Paul is dead hoax? Remember that? Paul is dead,
Yeah,
Paul is dead, and whole walk across Abbey Lane and all that?
Yeah, it may have been. I mean, something that
Penny
he
Lane.
suggested.
Abbey Road.
The backwards stuff. Because I think, just my personal opinion, I think John Lennon was the one that was putting the backwards messages in there. Because he was like that. He liked to tweak people's noses, kind of rattle their cages a little bit. I don't think necessarily that Paul or any of the other Beatles or anyone knew what Lennon was up to, because he was into a lot of avant-garde stuff like that time musically, manipulating tape and making strange noises and stuff before anybody else was really doing it. And I think Lennon was probably responsible. But again, he was a follower of Crowley too, and talked about that, and that do what thou will. He was cool, used that quote too. Lennon did.
The connections blow me away, though. Look at this. Look at how they look, I mean, gosh, the eyes, the way they're set. And the way the nose, I mean, it's all very possible. But this one blows me away even more. Can you imagine, this whole Bush family, the way they carry themselves, are all supposed to be this like elite, classy, I got news for you. That rabbit hole gets pretty doggone dark. So, but so that's it with the whole Crowley, it really gets to you. Everybody, I think, is searching for something different. And getting
Glenn, he
answers.
had been dead long before that came about, but we think that what happened was that the Beatles took that from his suggestions and did that with the backwards messaging stuff.
This is the truth right here.
Had a first hand in it.
And Edna.
Still blame Yoko.
I still blame Yoko. Yep.
Yeah, if that guy aimed just a little to the left, they'd have his statue out there in Strawberry Fields.
I'm telling you what,
I'm sorry. Now Yoko's probably going to die.
I'd like to smack whoever told her that she could record music, because that was horrible stuff. He should have never encouraged her for that. I remember one time they had, this is funny, but it's just a side note, Mike Douglas, Merv Griffin, who was that other guy? I really liked him a lot. He was early, had the talk show. Well, like Steve Allen, they all did.
Yeah,
but Mike Douglas was on like in the afternoon, and I remember watching him all the time coming home from school.
The other guy, the kind of very anal retentive, very
Dick Cavett.
Yeah, that's who
I loved him.
Yeah.
Well, Mike Douglas had, what his shtick used to be is you had a co-host, and the co-host would come in on a Monday, and they'd stay all week, and then they'd have this big crescendo at the end, and they'd do like, little skits, and, it was very vaudeville-ish, and it was kind of cool because this co-host that was there for 5 days, probably recorded it all in one day, who knows. But anyway, they were there, and it was kind of neat because all the different guests that came on, they'd all get to talk to him, and it was kind of cool. Well, one week they had on, John Lennon was co-host for Mike Douglas. And this is back to the long hair. This was right after, you remember the big sleep in, the bed in, or whatever that protest was?
Bed in, yeah,
right?
That one.
It was after that. And they had him on, and the second day, they're bringing Yoko. And the whole build-up for this, and I'm going to say, I shit you not, the entire build-up for her coming out was, he's sitting there and he's teasing Mike that she's got a surprise. And they don't know what the surprise is going to be. So you're waiting for her to come out. All of a sudden, she comes out and she's got a teacup and some glue. And in the green room, everybody's got a green room, and that's just what they call the waiting room. In the green room, somebody had knocked over an actual coffee cup, and she fixed it. This was the whole show.
But she's a witch, so she performed the magic on it. I used to have one of her albums on vinyl when I was having a party or any kind of get-together, and wanted people to go the hell home. I'd put on Yoko.
Turn it up loud.
Clear the place out, I'm telling you. It worked like a charm. It was good for something.
Horrible. Just horrible. Well, there you go with that one. We've got the next thing is this one. This one's kind of cool, guys. Everybody's heard about it, right, Steve? The 27 Club. That was a great picture, too. I just love the way that picture is. It's a shame to think they're all gone now. Who's the third one here? in the
the
row.
third one from the
Right next to Jimmy, between Jim and Jimmy.
That's I think supposed to be Janis Joplin.
You know, it could be.
I'm not sure who the first one is.
So many guys had those
Jimmy,
like.
I believe that's Janis. Jim Morrison. I'm not sure who the guy with the feathers in his hair is. Kurt Cobain and Amy Winehouse. But
Yep. There you go.
Not too sure who the first one there was.
And this one might be a little too small, but this is even more, people here that you don't really think about. That's
the
part of
first
this.
one was
Robert Wood Johnson.
Brian Jones.
Okay, yep, Brian Jones. And then you've got like Robert Wood Johnson, and we all know what happened with him if you want to tell it again, Steve. The Crossroads, Robert Wood Johnson.
Yeah, I was just talking about that with No Justice, No Peace the other night, and I was quoting some lyrics. Yeah, he showed up, wanted to be a blues player. People just kind of laughed at him, made fun of him. He disappeared for a while. Shows back up, and he plays unlike anything they've ever seen before. And
so different.
Story was that he did the thing at the Crossroads in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and met the devil there at the Crossroads at midnight. The devil tuned his guitar. And in exchange for his soul, and he could play stuff like nobody else had ever heard or seen, even these old blues guys that have been around forever. Now, I've been to that Crossroads. They have one there for the tourists. That's not the real one. You have to get the word out that you want to go to the real one, and somebody will take you out there. It's outside of town. The one they have set up for tourists there, it's a photo opportunity. It's a couple of miles away from that. But then he got so good so fast that had a lot of women that took an interest in him, and he was poisoned by a jealous boyfriend or husband. Put I think it's arsenic or strychnine or something in some whiskey that was given to him, and that was the end of him. He was officially the first modern member of the 27 Club.
I think a lot of people have literally sold their soul to get power and fame.
Well, there's some that admit
I think there's
about
a lot. Yeah,
Have you ever
absolutely.
seen that Bob Dylan interview with Ed Bradley from 60 Minutes, where he
man.
all but just confesses it?
Yeah. And I don't understand that song he just put out. He just put out a really deep lyrical song, basically telling a story about JFK and the assassination, how everything was a lie, and a little bit of truth in there, and conspiracy theorist comes from, because CIA created that word to just gaslight everybody, and you throw a little bit of truth in with a bunch of different stuff all thrown in and just scramble it, and people just say, you know what, I'm tired. I just don't want to go through it all. And that's been going on since 1963 with the JFK shooting. So he just came out with a song, I think it was about a year ago, that stated that whole thing. It didn't, but it was almost like people were talking about like he's an old guy scared and trying to repent now. You know what I mean?
Well, he's tried that a couple of times. Remember, there was another time there that he claimed to have converted to Christianity. First of all, he's Jewish. I mean, anybody can convert to Christianity. I know people that are that are Messianic, believe in Messianic Judaism or whatever, but he converted to Christianity, came out with an album called Saved, which was religious stuff. So I think, as he gets older, he kind of has some regrets about something he may have done or something he may have promised. And then other people were saying basically that was his American Pie, because it famously listed a lot of deaths and
right. But American Pie, man, that has some feel to it. I mean, gosh,
there's something special about that.
Yeah.
His Don McLean's publishing company is Yahweh Music, so Yahweh, that's Jesus. Yep. So
there you go.
But there is something deeper to that, something very spiritual, and he won't even reveal what some of those lines are about. And he's real cheeky about it. I saw an interview with him, and they said, "What does American Pie means to you?" And he said, "Well, it means I'll never have to work again."
It is cheeky, a cheeky little devil. That's funny. But there he is. Robert Wood Johnson's right there in that picture, right above Jimmy Page, of course, right next to Jim. I think is that Chris Cornell up there on the top? I can't tell. Can you guys tell, chat, that if that's Chris Cornell? I'm not sure if he died at 27. He may have. Sure.
There's some there I don't recognize right off. See Mitch Hedberg in there, and here we have
Mitch. I love Mitch. Yep, this one's another thing, isn't it, Steve? Go ahead.
White Bic lighter. There's a rumor, an urban legend, that a lot of these stars that are members of the 27 Club, when they died or when they were found deceased, they had a white Bic lighter on them. There's even some conjecture that it's the same one that it keeps getting passed around. It's like the lighter of doom or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing about that, several of those mentioned there, in particular Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison,
Right.
died before Bic made disposable lighters. But Cobain, that wouldn't surprise me a bit. Amy Winehouse, I'm sure she had a lighter too.
Right.
And I looked like they misspelled Janis Joplin. I was just looking at it wrong there on that. It looks like Janky Joplin, but it's
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did see that. I was wondering who Janky was. That's funny. That's really funny. Well, the thing is, Steve, you said that to me today, and I started thinking. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but it's a possibility. Because I'm not saying that the white lighter thing is true, because, they went through Kurt Cobain's, the stuff that was around him. And he said he had a pink lighter, and another one was like a tie-dye or something. I don't know. But I've seen a lot of people strike this out because of what you just said, because the Bic lighter really hadn't come out until later. Let alone, I think the colors, it was only 4 colors they came out with at first, and then they started getting crazy. But there was a little known thing, and people forget. Well, it was known then, but now you wouldn't know it. Back in the day, in the 60s, and I think this was like 40s, the big thing that got big, Zippo lighter got big in World War II.
Yep.
Because they needed something. Zippo actually made this to go to war so it would stay lit in the wind and, try wet and things like that. That's how Zippo got popular. But you think you always have to fill it with lighter fluid, right? Mm-hmm. So smoking was so huge, and I mean everywhere you went there was an ashtray. There was smoke. My doctor used to look at me when I was a kid. My pediatrician had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth in the office while he was looking at me.
When I worked for a surgeon in the 80s, we smoked in the office.
And I mean, absolutely true. Planes and everything else. I remember all that. Somebody just reminded me of that McDonald's used to have these little throwaway aluminum ashtrays. I still remember those from the 70s.
McDonald's also used to have the little stir that had a little spoon on the end of it, and
they sure did,
because people were using it for cocaine.
Oh, was it really? I didn't know that. That's funny. Yep. That's funny. But back in the day, it was a big deal. Like, you gave a smoker a lighter. My mom had a gold one. I remember she got it for Christmas. Said Merry Christmas. It was for my sister. It was a gold lighter. It was a big deal. A lot of people had big lighters sitting on their desk. But there was a famous lighter that we have forgotten. I remember seeing it. Let me pull this up as another picture of them. There it is. The Popal lighter. Now, the Popal lighter came in 4 colors, green, red, black, and white, just like the Bic lighter came out in those 4 colors. This lighter was so popular, it was like a disposable, but the outside casing, you kept it, and then you had a little, almost like a little butane type of canister that you would just buy separately and stick up. It cost 50 cents, and you would stick it up in that lighter. It would last like 3 months of regular use. It lasted a good long time. They came out with this line first in 58, and it stayed this size until about 70, and then they started making the thin ones, and they made round ones. They also had many lighters that were butane lighters that came in colors as well. So just saying that the curse can't be true, because Bic lighters weren't made before 73, doesn't actually hold up. It is highly possible that Jim Morrison, where he was in Paris, these were very, very popular in Paris at the time. So
and
there you go.
That wouldn't surprise me if they had.
Possible.
Because those were expensive. Not everybody had them like they did the disposable lighters, but it's something that a rock star, somebody with money would have had.
Yep. So it's highly possible. So if somebody says that none of these guys could have had, because Bic wasn't.
Maybe couldn't have had a Bic, but they could have had some kind of lighter.
Excuse me.
A white lighter.
But yeah, that's the thing. So it could be possible. A lot of people just want to say something like that and poo-poo all of this, But we know, as people that dig into mystery and know that conspiracies really can be true, because really, what's a conspiracy? When two or more people get together to do something in secret against something, usually something bad, or they wouldn't have to keep it secret, But there it is. I mean, it's totally possible. All these people at 27, all across the board, alcoholism, OD, all that. But that's also a very easy way to get rid of somebody. And if we look through Laurel Canyon like we did last week at all of the ODs and alcohol poisonings and choked on own vomit, all of those things, it's just sad to me to know that all these young people could be taken out like
and
that. So
there's some stuff that's where it's added in that may not even be true, like Mama Cass from the Mamas and the Papas. She supposedly OD'd and choked on a ham sandwich, or choked on a ham sandwich while eating drugs. But then that's been said that didn't happen. Although there was no ham sandwich. That some comedian, not Lenny Bruce, because I think he was already dead then, but somebody like that just made a joke, and it kind of stuck and carried into pop culture, and everybody believes it. Because, one thing, she was big. She was a very heavy woman, and you could see her choking to death on a ham sandwich if she was stoned out of her mind on
I didn't know she had a daughter either. I just listened to an interview with her daughter last week, and she didn't know who her father was till after her mom died. She had put it in a letter and gave it to Michelle Phillips, and she passed it along, and she said she met him, and she said she wished she never did. So be careful what you wish for, people, because it might come true. But man, all these people are interlaced. It's almost like the 6 degrees of Charles Manson up in this son of a gun. Here we are with this jerk here, this cult leader. Now, last week we kind of touched on the fact that I used this picture because I thought it really looked like the inside of the guy's head. I really think that at a young age they started messing with him, in and out of foster homes, orphanages. His mom was a prostitute, was she not? Yeah, and then just kind of, he was raised kind of in that whole...
He was originally born no-name Maddox.
Wow.
You didn't even name him. And then later on, she married a man named Manson who adopted Charlie.
Isn't that something? But I still think that he had some kind of a... I don't know, in Laurel Canyon.
Manson was the father. Either way, Maddox was her maiden name.
Yeah. And Creepy Unsolved was saying right here, CIA man, and somebody was saying, flick your bick. What was going on there with the flick? Who's flicking what bick? Oh,
that was their advertising campaign.
Yeah, flick my bick.
Flick your bick.
I do remember that. Hang on one second. And it was saying something. At the time, the man was afraid of the influence Jimmy, Janice, and the like had on us young folks. Yeah, that's true. But I also believe that there was something going on in that canyon because of every one of these young people we went through last week, from David Crosby, every single one. Jim Morrison, his dad was the youngest admiral in charge of the fleet that was involved in the Gulf of Tonkin that never happened.
Yeah, last week we had that picture of a young collegiate short-haired Jim Morrison standing on the bridge of the Bonhomme, the USS Bonhomme, which was his father's warship. And he basically started the Gulf of Tonkin incident. They got us into Vietnam. So then a few years later, Jim's got his hair down like you saw there, and is the voice of the anti-war movement, although he never spoke out on the war and claimed that his parents were dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manson died a few years ago.
Yeah, Tim here is saying about Kurt here. I love that picture of him with the glasses. Well, what I heard, Tim, and again, it could just be BS. I think there's something with Miss Love involved in that, and I do believe that he was tired of doing what he was told and wanted to do his music his way. I believe that she wanted to go down another road, and some kind of scramble in there ensued.
Yeah,
it usually has to do with power, money, and
the suicide note was not a suicide note at all, but that he was disbanding Nirvana and possibly divorcing her. There was some stuff written on at the end to it saying goodbye to her and baby Francis, who was a baby at the time, that they don't even think was in his handwriting, that they thought maybe she had added it in. But,
and didn't her dad, I could be wrong on this, but didn't her father come forward and say that he had no doubt in his mind that she did it?
I think so.
Or was involved in it?
And then a guy named Il Deuce, which was the lead singer for a filthy band called the Mentors, they had him on interview saying that she offered him $50,000 to whack Kurt Cobain. And shortly after that interview where he admitted to that, he supposedly got drunk and laid down for a nap on the railroad tracks out behind his house in, I think it's Riverside, California. So there's a lot of strange stuff there. Supposedly the private detective that Courtney hired to find out what happened managed to turn it all around on her and find out that she was most likely the culprit. Her and another guy that Kurt was friends with that would do anything for drugs or money. So
It's crazy. And look here with Donnie Chow. You want to get that one to Donnie Cho's got up there? That's interesting.
yeah, there you go. And it's amazing. Of course, all this is after the fact, and there's no way to prove it. But there was supposedly so many people invited to the Tate house the night the murders happened. One of the more famous ones is that Peter Falk, Columbo,
Okay.
was in the caretaker's house with what was the kid's name? William Garrett or something like that.
Oh, William Garrett. Yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
that they heard the screams and actually hid out behind the pool house till everything.
Peter Falk, really? I never heard that one. And
Well,
I never heard this one either from Donnie. Bruce Lee was invited to the Tate house the night the murder happened, but it turned it down. He said he would have loved to see Bruce Lee nunchuck the Manson family. Absolutely. I think it would have turned out different, don't you think there, Donnie?
I think so. I think Bruce would have kicked their asses. But there's another rumor about Charles Manson and Peter Falk. Apparently, Peter Falk was gay, very closeted.
Okay.
And that he and Charles Manson had an affair.
Oh, my
That
God.
Manson used to
Ugh,
talk
my eyes.
about. There was a very big star that would send a limo around to pick him up and bring him back to his house, where they would enjoy each other's company. And
Oh, my.
according to rumor, it was Peter Falk, but there's no substantiation.
I don't think I'll ever be able to watch Columbo again now, Steve.
He didn't seem like, well, you know, Charlie. I'm gonna send a car around for you, Charlie.
Oh God, stop it with that eye. So here we've got the Beatles, we've got Doris Day, for the love of Pete. What could they possibly have to be involved with? All of these people, from Sharon Tate to the Beatles to the Beach Boys, Doris Day and her son, the Folgers coffee heiress, and some very unfortunate people that were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And like I said, 6 degrees of Charles Manson. Well, these are the people, in case you've never heard the names or saw the faces of those that were in what they lovingly call now as the Kill House on CeeLo Drive. These are the people here. Sharon Tate and her companions, Jay Sebring here, seen all the way to Sharon's my left, you're probably right. And then you have the unfortunate Stephen Parent, who was 18 years old and was just leaving the house. Wasn't he visiting?
He was visiting William Garrett, the caretaker that lived in the pool house. Something about he wanted to buy a radio or a piece of stereo equipment or something.
Just something simple
and
like
he
that.
Happened to be backing down the driveway when Tex Watson and the girls showed up.
Exactly, just backed right into him, and he was stabbed and left for dead in the driveway. This poor kid in his little prom picture here. And then you've got, of course, Sharon Tate's baby died of asphyxiation in the womb. Basically, you've heard lots of stories how they've torn the baby and done all this stuff. The baby was still there with her and died of suffocation within his mother, which is so sad. And then you have Abigail Folger.
Sharon even begged them to take the baby out of her and let the baby live.
And baby live.
But
And
they left it. They didn't do anything to the baby.
Yep. And then this other guy, and I can't pronounce his name, I'm so sorry, but he was a hairdresser, and he was torn apart too. Jay
Sebring was the hairdresser. Wojtek Frykowski, he was some sort of socialite or something like that. He was friends with Abigail Folger. He was from Poland, and may have known what's his name, Tate's husband. I can't think of his name right now. The film director, Roman Polanski.
There you go. Yes, and he was out of town, was he not? And you can see Sharon in some stuff, Eye of the Devil, and there was some others.
She
that
was on
horrible
the
movie.
Hillbillies.
Yeah, there was a horrible movie that they just put out not long ago that was kind of. It was almost the Manson killings again. I forget what it was.
Once upon a time in Hollywood.
Yeah, there was. It was just
Quentin
terrible.
Tarantino.
It was just awful.
It's had a little bit of a different ending to it.
You bet it did.
A lot of the stuff in there really happened.
Oh, Valley of the Dolls. I forgot about that one. Oh,
Yeah.
when that came out, that was just the big, whoa. That was like the big secret because they had I think the big thing on that one was because they talked about birth control pills.
Yeah.
And that
And
was the big thing. They were just
Glenn
like, oh my
Danson there
goodness.
says Polanski was a child molester. He was. That's one reason he can't
Yeah.
return to the United States. He was
Right.
convicted of having sex with a 13-year-old girl
There
in
was
his
a
hot
lot of that.
tub. Claimed he didn't know she was 13, but
Yeah,
I
there was a
don't
lot of
buy
that. There was that one. There was the one with what's his name, Jack Nicholson, and I think that's the one that happened where Angelica Houston was there, and she talks a lot about it. That she was in the house at that time, but they're all very quiet about it. Very
That's
much
the
like
house.
every in that house. Was it her
And,
dad's? I think
I
was it
think so. A lot of people have
John
lived
Huston's
there.
house?
Inger, what's her name? She lived there. There's a very famous spread of that house in Life magazine when Inger Stevens owned the house or rented it or whatever she did. And then more famously, right before they tore it down, the guy from Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, I don't know. That one I don't.
I can't remember names tonight, but he had rented it and recorded an album there. And Marilyn Manson was in the video. You can watch the video on YouTube of them there in the house making the Trent Reznor's who I'm trying to think of. But yeah, one time it had been Terry Melcher's house. Terry Melcher was Doris Day's son. He was a record producer, and supposedly the Mansons had been to some parties there and stuff when it was Terry Melcher's. And Terry was supposed to record an album with Charlie, or I think he did. He produced Lie, I think, and then was going to produce more. And then he just kind of like, I'm done with you guys. You're crazy. So that was, some people claim that he went back to kill Melcher, and then other people claim that he knew Melcher had already moved out, but he just knew that address was in a swanky part of Benedict Canyon there.
Yeah, what connected these two in? Because this was the second day. This was the La Bianca murders. It was the second day, and they did that too.
That was over in Los Feliz. Supposedly, it was another one of those cases where Charlie was just out driving everybody around looking for a place, and he remembered a house that he had been to in Los Feliz, but it was next door to the La Biancas. But
and they just got caught up.
They had been out, I think, on a lake or something with their boat, and had just returned with their boat and stuff. So I guess he saw them as the type of people he hated, people with money and well-to-do, and like, let's go do them. But the odd thing about that, even though people will refer to Charles Manson as a serial killer and a mass murder and all this, Charlie was never convicted of killing anybody.
Nope.
With the possible exception of Gary Hemmon, who was a drug dealer that they had. And he whacked him with a samurai sword, I think, but that didn't actually kill him. But he just sent these people out to do stuff. And the only thing they ever convicted him of was conspiracy to commit murder. And yet, look what a sentence he got. But he probably belonged in prison anyway.
There you go. Now look at this one that Ian put up here. Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski had dinner with Sirhan Sirhan the night before he killed Robert Kennedy. What? That's just wow.
Yeah, that's one of those. If true,
some of this stuff, man.
It just, everything's far-reaching. Everything is connected. There's all these tentacles, all these
like the 6 degrees of Charles Manson. It's got nothing on Kevin Bacon. Oh, I said bacon. Wait a minute. I said bacon. Hold on. Yeah. I can't say it not bring enough for the whole class. So let me.
But there was even claims that Manson was a CIA asset, as were a lot of those people. Supposedly Jim Morrison was. Supposedly John Lennon.
I heard Marilyn Monroe was. I've seen the cards, and I'm like, I can't.
And she was having adult playtime with both the president
Kennedys
and his brother, the district attorney or whatever he was at the time. That probably would have been president, and she simply knew too much. She had a diary, and she was no longer of use to him. The thing that I've heard that she was killed by some sort of suppository.
Yes,
that way it melted, overdosed her, and then there was no. Nothing
That's why
left.
she had the bruise on her thigh and her like hip where she was held down. That whole thing. The whole thing about that is the diary. She told everybody she had a diary, and I've had people in here like Mark Shaw who
pages were missing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing is that the maid found it, gave it to the the odd thing, and I believe this because it would have been such a handoff, because supposedly you've got Robert Kennedy and whoever went with him, I guess Secret Service, his close guy, went with him at first, and then the second they left and they came back and they had Peter Lawford with them because they were still trying to talk sense into her, and that's the whole thing started over the whole scuttle and scuffle and everything. The phone was off the hook. She was talking to this French guy that she did the movie with. I can't remember his name, but anyway, he's listening to the whole thing. She's talking back and forth with Lawford and Robert Kennedy. They're scuffling in the pool house. They go from the pool house and come back into where the phone was, and they could tell because everything got louder. And he, right before the phone got hung up, he heard her scream and like a wrestling. And then, you got to tell us where that damn book is. You have to tell us where the book is. And then Robert Kennedy, it sounded like him, says, "Hang that phone up." He just hung up the phone. Now, the book, supposedly, the diary was a red diary, and her best friend, who she roomed with for many years and came up through all kinds of stuff with, basically said that she did have it and that it was given by the maid to one of the EMTs that were there. Because she just ran in, and once she found it, she didn't want it anymore, and handed it over, and it wound up locked in a safe at the coroner's office. Mm-hmm. And then in the middle of the night, coroner's office is broken into, the safe is broken into, and the book is gone.
The only thing they took was her diary.
That's it. So, I've had people tell me that never existed. I tend to believe it does. I beg to differ, as we say here in Jersey. So there you go. It's like the 6 Degrees of Charles Manson. The guy, it's really sick. I've seen people, especially in the 90s. I think Axl Rose recorded a song by them. I know that, songs have been written a lot about Crowley. Ozzy Osbourne's done it. But it's sickening to me that people would wear a t-shirt with Manson's face on it, or, any of these things. I'm just not into this whole, raising serial killers up as heroes. I don't get that. I just really don't get it. But
I'll admit I've had a Manson shirt, but I wore it for shock value.
That'll do it. That'll do it. So there's that, and the next
I wore
one
it to a party once, and somebody's like, "Who is that dude? Bob Marley?" And I'm like, "Close, Charles Manson." They're like, "What?"
Yeah. But, these people, that was really something. Helter Skelter, of course, that's connected into the Beatles. I've listened, everybody kept saying the White Album, the White Album, the White Album. And I just never, the Little Piggies and all the stuff that was on there, I never got into it. I just never was one of those people that would go to, like, say, a museum or, and look at a Picasso and just go, "Oh, look at the color and the stroke and the texture." I'm like, my cat could do better. In fact, I've seen my cat knock over paint, and it was so much prettier. I just don't, I'm not going to stand there and go, "Yeah, I get it." I actually when I worked at AC Moore, of course, they do custom framing. And any of those places to do custom framing, I'm telling you, it's not cheap. People would come in with a little 8x10, $700, $800 later. It looks beautiful, but all that stuff costs so much money. So anyway, we're standing there, and we had a guy in. It's worth the story. It's funny. I had a guy who was one of my best buddies there. He was an ex-Marine, used to work at the Pentagon. Fantastic artist. Okay, this is when they hand drew stuff and did maps and everything, and he was terrific. And I just loved him. And he was sitting there talking to this one couple who brought this big painting in. And there's 4 people standing at the counter, and they're all oohing and ahhing. And this is the picture. It's a big oil painting, and in the center is this woman, and she just looks like, a middle-aged, country, live on the farm, lady, and she's out there, and she's got a little house dress on, a little apron, and she's got a bucket, and she's got seed, and she's feeding her chickens. And then there's this one rooster that's at her feet. And then all around her, there's little scenes from her life, and it's her, and she's got this little baby chick in her hand. And then the next one is there's her feeding chickens on the farm, and the flowers are blooming, and the chickens are getting older, and there's lots of baby chicks around. And then all of a sudden there's her, and she's at a fence like this talking to a guy. And then the next thing is they're going to a dance, and the last one is they're getting married. And there's this chicken at the top. and he's all by himself, and they're all standing around and they're doing all this. Oh, this is so lovely. It should be hanging in a museum. Look at the stroke, look at the texture, look at the amount of paint here. What is the artist trying to say? And I just walk up and they're saying, oh, it's about this. I said, no, it's about the chicken. She left the chicken. Look at the chicken. The chicken was happy. He was born. He had a friend. And this guy comes along, steals the woman from the chicken. It's about the chicken. And they're all just standing there going, yeah. I'm like, y'all are so full of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Ridiculous.
That's how I felt about the White Album.
One of my degrees is in art history, and all that will do is ruin art for you forever.
Absolutely.
If you take college level classes on art. I like Andy Warhol. I think he was the most important artist of the 20th century.
The pop stuff.
Because he poked his finger in everybody's eye and made fun of the whole concept of highbrow art. He painted soup cans. He painted Marilyn. He painted Elvis. Art as a product.
And everybody had to have it.
And everybody fell for it. He hoodwinked everybody. And that's why I love
It's awesome. I think a lot of these people did. I mean, I think Pollock probably really thought that he had something going on there, but I think a lot of them, what I learned in art school was basically a lot of them went nuts because of the amount of lead in the paint. Yeah. And, you know, you've got a lot of people, and they used to, you know, brush the stuff on them to clean their brushes or rub them on their hands that are covered in paint. Yeah. And that's why they all went mad because of the amount of lead.
Yeah. Van Gogh and people like that. But you mentioned Jack the Dripper there. He's one artist that I studied a lot. I didn't really care for him when I first heard him because his canvases, they're huge, but it looked like he had literally just flung paint on there. And people, you know, they go, oh no, he was a real artist. Every one of those strokes meant something. Blah. And I'm thinking, yeah, bullshit.
Yeah.
Until I had a professor, and when I was in college, that I argued about that with. But then years later, I saw an old, like one of these British BBC newsreels of Jackson Pollock in the painting process. And then it all made sense. It was shot looking up from under a piece of glass. And what Pollock is doing, he's got the paint on his brush. He's writing things in the air. He's drawing symbols and sigils and things in the air, and the paint is falling down onto the canvas. Okay. So they say that art is a residue of passion. The art that came down here was actually happening up here, and what fell onto the canvas was what was left over. The art, there was no way to preserve it because it was all ethereal. And then the paint that fell down on the canvas, that was what he had left over. That was the residue of his passion. And it just clicked in my head. I'm like, he was a genius if he really thought about all that.
Right.
And there were other times he painted with syringes where he would just squirt stuff in the air and write with it and spell with it. Well, back then, syringes were made out of glass. Like they gave people medicine with. And he also drank heavily while he painted. And toward the end of a canvas, he would actually throw the syringes on the canvas and then stomp on them barefoot and then walk around on a canvas. A lot of the red that you see in a Pollock painting is his blood where he cut his feet. Oh my! So he suffered.
That's really putting yourself in your art there.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
but
you know,
drinker. He
$1 million for a painting like that. I just can't see it.
Drove his convertible into a tree, and he wasn't wearing a seatbelt and went head first into the tree, and that was the end of Jackson Pollock. Jack the Dripper.
That's Jack the Dripper. Well, that makes sense. I never heard all that. I mean, we used to study different things, impressionists and stuff, but I've always been. You know, if I'm going to look at art, it's going to make me feel better. You know what I mean? I mean, I love different stuff. Hildebrandt was one of my favorites in the 70s. There's Hildebrandt or brothers. They both did a lot of art in the 70s. But if you ever owned a poster with like that unicorn on it or a maiden laying in in like a fairy land or something like that, that was all Hildebrandt.
Another one was Frank Frazetta. Remember Heavy Metal magazine that always have the Conan type guy and the maidens and the skimpy clothes and stuff. Frazetta did a lot of paintings like that. He was along with the Hildebrandts there. Now Connor said something funny here. He said Manson was the best part of the Beach Boys, and people in the chat are laughing. He really was. He was friends with Dennis Wilson. They had even tried to get him a record deal. They referred to him as the Wizard, along with Neil Young and other people like that. They recorded one of Manson's songs. It was Manson's title
There's
was
somewhere.
Cease to Exist, and then they changed it to Cease to Resist, changed it into
Oh,
kind of a love song, and then later it was on the B-side of Bluebirds Over the Mountain.
where'd it go?
I think by that time they had changed the title to
There we go.
something completely different. But
Now, we
yeah,
explained about him, didn't we? The Doris Day's
Manson
son and
and
Metzler? Yeah.
and Glenn Campbell were the most two famous members of the Beach Boys. A lot
Yep.
of people don't know that, but after Brian Wilson kind of went nutso, he
Mm-hmm.
didn't leave his house for several years. He had a grand piano in his living
Sand
room,
in his living
had
room.
a
Sand.
sandbox. The piano was sitting in the box. He wouldn't even get out of his bathrobe. He would sit there barefoot with his feet in the sand and compose all these
Animal
little records
sounds.
that we never heard. Yeah.
It was Animal Sounds. It was
But
when he did that.
when
Yeah.
that happened, they hired Glenn Campbell, who was already a session guitarist in the Wrecking Crew and
Mm-hmm.
had played on all the Beach Boys songs. He actually toured with the Beach Boys, sang harmony, and played guitar. A lot of people don't know that.
It's
Glenn
true.
Campbell was just one of the most talented musicians ever.
Oh,
and
he was something.
And even though he was famous and he had a TV show and sold millions of
Hi,
records
I'm
and
Glenn
stuff,
Campbell.
yeah, I don't think he ever
great.
truly got the recognition he deserved.
He didn't. He
But,
didn't.
the
And
whole
I'll tell you,
Wrecking Crew,
Wichita
every-
Lineman right now will rip your heart out. I absolutely love the song Wichita Lineman. It just makes me feel just like, wow, you
Gentle on
know?
My Mind. I mean, he had so
Yeah.
many hits. Now, those
Yeah.
are written by other people, but
Right. So good.
the whole Wrecking Crew,
Yeah.
any of those hits you heard in the 60s,
That lady bass player is just
Crosby,
the
Stills,
bee's knees,
yeah, that's
baby.
you were talking about Wichita
Yeah.
Lineman. That's
Yeah.
her on the bass.
Yep.
That bass line you'll never forget.
Yep. She
But,
is amazing. Oh, gosh,
But
yeah.
they played on everybody's hits back then. They played on the Doors albums. They played on
Mm-hmm.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash. They played basically any.
They
hit
played all the
that you
Beatles
heard.
music except for George Harrison, and Paul could play. But again, go look up. It's free on YouTube. 1,000 places. Look up when they played at Yankee Stadium. Where is the microphone plugged in? And why is there one microphone for 4 singers and 1 amp? And Ringo's going boom, chippa boom, chippa boom, but the drums are going.
Yeah. Well, it's your friend Bernard Purdy. They're doing
Exactly.
the Purdy Shuffle. Hey, there at Nine Lives of Sandy, my co-host. On
Hi,
13
Nine Lives. How
Cats
you
Midnight.
doing, darling?
Good to
Welcome
see
in.
you. Thank you for being here.
Welcome in. Yeah, I mean, they're saying a lot of great stuff in the chat, too, about all the stuff that went in the background and all that. And I suppose we could dig that up for a long time. But in all honesty, I can tell you that it was an absolutely horrible thing to live through it. I was in Jersey. I wasn't close to California, but we were hearing what was going down. It just seemed like so much death was coming out of Laurel Canyon. We sure can't prove it was MK Ultra. We could definitely prove LSD and the CIA was involved in it, but to what end? What were they doing it for? Why would they go through so much? I really don't know. I know all this stuff is connected in some way, and it really all just comes down to power and control and trying to shift the narrative and make
what they
money
were
on both
trying to
sides of a
do,
war.
They knew that there was a movement, an
Mm-hmm.
anti-war, anti-establishment movement brewing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they thought, well, we'll come up with our own movement and get everybody involved in that. Then we can steer them. We can control the agenda. We
Mm-hmm.
can do what we want to. And basically, they killed the hippies and the peace and love, the hippie dream. The
Mm-hmm.
government did, but they co-opted it from the kids and made something else out of it. Took it away from them and then destroyed it, which was their plan all along. Now that's
It
my
certainly wasn't organic.
Not the
There's no
humble
way
opinion,
all those
no.
people showed up in that spot that were all military kids and
Mm-hmm.
military. I'm not saying they were a son of a sergeant that just drove a truck, and that's not it. They were in military intelligence. They were in all kind of psyop stuff and
Frank
mind.
Zappa's dad
yeah,
was at
yeah,
Edgewood Arsenal. He was
Yeah.
a chemical warfare engineer,
right.
and just on and on and on. David Van Cortlandt Crosby, the famous Van Cortlandt family, one of your American
bloodline
Illuminati
right there.
bloodlines. Yeah, bloodline family. Van Cortlandt Park in New York, which had ties to the Son of Sam and those murders, which Son of Sam, David Berkowitz did not act alone. He's admitted that, yeah, he did a couple of those killings, but there were other people involved. There's a guy on YouTube called Manny Grossman that's dug so deep into that rabbit hole. He's got names. He tells stories. He's getting death threats and stuff because he's uncovered some of the other people that were involved. he's talked to the actual witnesses. One guy said, I know it wasn't Berkowitz that shot me because I'd just passed Berkowitz. It was the guy that was walking behind Berkowitz that walked up and shot me. Berkowitz said I was there, and Berkowitz also said that most of those shootings were filmed.
It's something else. And like Jeanette says here, Aunt Edna agrees with you. And Jeanette says here, definitely not organic. It was something more than that. It certainly was. And, we can basically prove it. The thing is, it's just like JFK, like we said. It's all, conspiracy theorists and this didn't happen. But you can't look at all these people dead at 27, with or without a white lighter in their pocket.
Thank you, Casey.
And then you keep digging and you find out that, like Kurt Cobain, he didn't want to move on. He wanted to do things his way. And if you're picked and they tell you that you're going to do things this way or that way or whatever, they own you, and they're not going to put up with it. And they'll kill you and make another one just like you. And that's just the way it is. Casey, thank you so much. You had a super chat here. And she says, I got to go. Great show tonight, Steve. I was sincerely kidding you. So looking forward to reading your new book. Yeah, Steve's book is doing great. Love and light to all the victims and the families. Amen to that. Thank you so much for that.
I had somebody the other day that got one from Amazon. The book had been like cut out of the middle. It was book size, but it was only half the book had been cut in the wrong places. So I'm like, they're like, what do I do? And I said, get a hold of Amazon if they're the one that print those and deliver
Oh my
those.
Goodness. I hope that doesn't keep happening.
Anything like that.
They're
That's
probably
the
short on help, just like everybody else, Steve. I mean, they probably got one guy working.
And you're going to cut it, and then you misaligned the thing, and you got like half the blank page, and then half the book. It was cut like that, the whole book.
Yeah.
So if you do
it's
get
bad
one
everywhere.
that's monkeyed up, get on with Amazon immediately and they'll make it right. They're
Sharon,
very, very good about that.
Tim is saying here's another one. Sharon Tate's father was in intelligence. I don't doubt it for a minute. And like I said, George Carlin said it best. He'd say, look, I never went up that mountain. Anybody went up that mountain never came down the same again. And George Carlin was always telling us the truth. And what he said also was, it's a big club and you ain't in it. So that's the thing, power, fame, whether it's Robert Wood Johnson. I would like to say something about that too. I was watching, and again, I don't often get into, series and stuff, but everybody was talking about it was a big deal. It was Supernatural. It came out with the two guys that were after demons. So I was making a big jewelry order, quite a few pieces. So I sat down and I actually binge watched about 10 seasons of that in about a week. And just because I'm sitting there in my workshop just working and working and working. And I'm watching this, and they actually had a decent enough episode on the Robert Wood Johnson. And it had a lot to do with hellhounds coming to get him, because now he had, once you get your fame and stuff, when they come to get you, you have to go. And they were trying to keep him, safe and all this other stuff. But it makes you think. There's a lot I've heard about the hellhounds at the crossroads, and you can hear them howling. There's been shows again where they bring up little bits like, when he sold his soul, he had to bury a mason jar with certain things in it. People have looked for that. A lot of guitar players go down to the crossroads and they stand there, and it's some kind of almost like an homage to him or something. But the thing is why, when these people get up there and they get famous and they do what Jimmy Page did, like he's doing spells there, it's no different than the concert that just ended with that Travis Scott doing things like CERN and the portals and stuff like that. I'm telling you, the stuff is real. It doesn't take much for them to trick you. The devil is very clever, and those who work with him also very clever. If you willingly walk into a situation where they're putting all that stuff in front of you on the posters and the obvious decorations and everything else. I used to think it was so silly when I was a kid that they'd say like AC/DC is doing this or AC. I don't believe that all rock and roll is doing it, but there are people who do right in front of you. Spells at the, on the Grammys, on live TV, at the halftime show, and football, the Super Bowl. And I'll tell you something else about the Super Bowl. It's not just the halftime. The sex trade and pedophilia and human trafficking goes up 20-fold in any town that has the Super Bowl. Understand that is true.
And all that plus Nickelback. Screw Nickelback.
Screw Nickelback. How about some Gatekeeper gear?
Gotta get
Everybody.
my hatred in for Nickelback.
We got Patriot gear here, guys, and it is available at TeePublic. I have my mug right here. I love it. It came out great.
Yeah,
These are all designs for you guys that I made for you because I love you. But the most important thing on here isn't the logo for this podcast. The most important thing on all of this is enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm so glad that we've chose to take our journey on. Maybe the road less traveled by, it's a little harder, but I love the scenery and I love the company.
So, any of you ladies that are wondering what to get Steve Stockton for Christmas, there you go.
There you go. You could use a Gatekeeper hoodie. Or
I can use a new coffee mug. I've put mine somewhere and can't find it.
There you go, new
I've got
coffee
an
mug.
aluminum one, but I can't put that in the microwave. I've got a China mug somewhere, and I've been clearing out my studio, moving stuff around. I think it's in a box somewhere. I need a coffee mug.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you, Uncommon Belief, for dropping that link. Just go right there. There's lots of different things. We've got the regular logo on there, too. And I also have the sepia. It's more of a Victorian look. It's got ravens, it's got little crispy, it's got the logo on there if you like that. It looks really good, like on anything tan, or the pillows look fantastic too. So thank you. And I appreciate you guys going in there buying that. We get a little bit, and it always goes to the StreamYard because it does cost. I opted for the paid one just so I could have a longer show, and they're not coming in here and stopping it, or not stopping the chat and stuff like that. So it's worth it to get the paid thing on StreamYard. So thanks, guys.
Had a question there. He said, opposite question: which music legends do you suspect were secretly advanced souls or transcendent beings?
Anybody that's being played on the top 40 right now.
Anybody that's not Nickelback. No, actually, the one that I don't know how legendary you call him, but there's a man named Daniel Johnston with a T, and he was one of these people. He died 2019, I think, but he was one of these people that just, it was kind of outsider, lo-fi, alternative music, and he wrote whatever came out of his head. Now, other people have talked about he was a favorite of Kurt Cobain, for example, and other people like that. But he just recorded on a cassette player alone in his home. He wrote everything. He played everything. His music's been frequently cited for its pure and childlike qualities. And I think he was just truly gifted. He was diagnosed as schizophrenic when he was a very small child, but somehow the music and the whatever just came out of him. He didn't have any formal training or anything, but his stuff, I mean, it's kind of an acquired taste, but it's very beautiful. Another one that's like that, she's a very acquired taste. She's almost as bad as Yoko in some regards. But that's Victoria Williams. Her music has been covered by a lot of big bands. Pearl Jam covered her. Trying to remember who else, but she is a talented singer-songwriter. She lives just outside of Joshua Tree, California, in Pioneer, but she's amazing. I think she's still alive. She had MS and had kind of retired, but
it's hard to tell. I think, Steve, there's a certain group that once you get to a certain point, the way I understand how this goes down, and it's kind of a solemn subject, but think about it. When you're going to say, let's just pick a venue like college, okay? You're amazing. Now think about this. All through high school, all through school, you're planning, I'm going to go to college. So you're taking the college courses, you're working, you're taking the college prep courses. You're busting your butt to do this. Your parents are busting theirs to send you. You get to a college and say you get in an Ivy League school, or, one of these, Yale or Harvard or Princeton, whatever. And you get there and there's this little group that goes around and kind of feels everybody out. They know what they're doing, just the same way, some runaway gets off into a bus station and they're sitting there and they can tell that you're a runaway. They can tell that you don't belong there. They can tell, if you're the first time in the city because you're looking up at the buildings, you can't believe it. Everybody's body language is different. Well, these people know how to prey on people like that. You're invited to a party, and before you know it, as the party gets going, there's people in a room watching a little bit of porn. And then the porn starts getting a little worse. And those that get up and leave, they're left alone. Those who stay, it gets a little worse, a little worse. They know how far they can push. It's a gradual boiling of the frog till they get these people to a certain point. And that's the way it goes all the way up in Hollywood, in the music industry, in boxing, in sports, in all of these different things. You're invited to parties and you start to get weaned out, and they start to get their group tighter and tighter. Before you know it, you're invited to these other bigger, quieter, more secretive parties, and before you know it, you're involved. And that's what happens to a lot of people. The people that are coming out now and saying, I got this far, I wanted to please the people that I was with, so it's basically like the casting couch. Some women are going to do it to get the part, and some people are going to say, screw you, and they're not going to get the part. They might get bit parts, have to work harder to get at certain things, but they're not going to be offered the big stuff. They're not going to be offered, you're not going to win the awards. I mean, if you remember Denzel Washington, he put out so many deep acting movies, okay? I mean, Picket Fences, all these different ones where you really had to do great acting. And he gets up there and he's, I guess he was presenting or he was announcing one, and he says, you could almost see him getting ready to cry, to the point of, you bust your butt to do this, you put your everything into this work, and you're only going to get so far unless you know who to shake hands with. And that's kind of it right there. Again, I mean, I don't feel sorry for people that have to work harder to do it the right way, because that's the way I've been doing it my whole life, and I know Steve has, and most of the people in here have, but to sell your soul or hurt a child or be part of a blackmail or, you worship and you love who you want to love, that your path and your choices are yours. But when it starts affecting and hurting other people, now they've taken it too far. And I really believe that's what the 27 is about. The 27 Club, I believe that, maybe some of them were honest to God ODs and it just happened and unfortunate. But I don't think most of them were. What do you think, Steve?
Do you know that what you said right there is straight from Crowley's mouth?
Is
if
it
it
really?
harm none, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
If it harm none. I wish doctors would remember that. First, do no harm, right? Mm-hmm. But, that's the way it is, and it's really spooky, and I think the scariest thing is this went on right under our noses. It continues to be, we're told that it didn't happen, and doggone well, just like a lot of the tragedies we talked about, with JFK being shot in Dallas and things like that, it certainly didn't go down the way they're making us think it went down. That's where I'm sitting.
And I think there are certain people in entertainment world that have done some dark things, some things that they probably didn't want to do to get that advance. Like Cisco said, whether it's sleeping with a producer or it's some sort of sacrifice. There are certain things that you can pay to become a member of that club, but the price that you pay, you may have to ask yourself one day, is it worth it? I've noticed T-Rex there, Pam Smith was talking about Jim Carrey. There's a current rumor that I've heard that Jim Carrey is a serial killer.
What?
I know that sounds crazy and sounds stupid, but think about that. If you're out camping and Jim Carrey pulls into the spot next to you, you're not going to run and hide.
True.
You're going, hey, there's Jim Carrey, and then he sticks a knife in you, I guess. Who
wow.
knows? I mean,
wow. I hadn't heard that one. That's new.
He's a big conspiracy theorist, number 23 and all that. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I think he has a dark side. I think a lot of these guys do.
Have you seen his artwork? Have you seen him painting?
He's very strange.
He's kind of out there too with that, and it's lots of acrylic paint, and it's like I need more color and color.
The guy Crispin Glover, he's
wrong.
A weirdo from the word go. Fascinating, great actor, but he is just so strange. There's a lot of people like that in there that I think that have a dark side, that have hidden secrets. I mean, everybody's not Donnie and Marie. There's there's some evil people that
they probably stayed straight. They probably stayed straight. I mean, that family stayed tight together. They were heavy duty Mormons and really had that family of togetherness and stuff. I don't know. I do believe that some people can get through this and be an actor that's got a good standing, but I also believe it's harder. And I think the way you can kind of tell now, over the past 3 or 4 years, especially with COVID and everything locked down and movie theaters being shut down, Hollywood not getting a lot of money, back and forth. You watch a lot of the people doing a lot of independent stuff now. And, I would believe like John Voight, I know Jim Caviezel, Mel Gibson, all of them were basically tossed out of the A-list Hollywood because they wouldn't conform. So there's some, it's hard pressed to tell past that. Just use your intuition like anything else, I guess, Armie Hammer, that guy's supposedly a cannibal. I heard that. And that's something they're trying to push too big time now, Steve, is trying to get you acclimated to that.
Look at the spirit cooking and all that stuff.
Look at all the shows about cannibalism now. You got Yellow Jacket. You got, what was the California Diet?
Eat Thy Neighbors.
And that's not even bringing in all the zombie stuff. So
and, Glenn Danson mentions there Ted Cruz was supposed to be the Zodiac. Do you know who he really, really looks like? He looks like the lead singer of Christian metal band Stryper. His name is Michael.
I remember that.
Sweet. Look up. Just put in Ted Cruz and Stryper.
I remember Stryper.
There's some resemblance here. And I'm no fan of Ted Cruz. Not really a fan of Stryper either. But there you go.
Oh wow! Look at that. Look at that hair.
You put long hair on Ted Cruz. He is Michael Sweet.
I love that hair. I've always wanted Rod Stewart's hair.
I saw Stryper back in the day.
Yeah, Stryper was something else. Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. It's been crazy. I didn't want to bring up, I didn't want to get too deep into the Helter Skelter and stuff and bring up all the, I think it's terrible now that you put in Helter Skelter in Google and you get the actual pictures of the bodies just laying out there. That's lovely.
One thing I do want to point out, though, that book by Vincent Bugliosi, that's not even close to what really happened. It's absolute bullshit.
Absolute bullshit.
The best book on the Mansons and what really happened. Now there's some others like Manson in his own words by Yul Emmons. Total bullshit. He was cellmate of Charlie's. Charlie let him do that, and it's all made up. Charlie's gave a review of it. It was a piece of toilet paper with a brown stain on it. Wasn't really what you think it was. He did it with shoe polish because you can't send poo through the mail. But that was Manson's review of that book. The best one is called The Family by a guy named Ed Saunders. He was in a hippie rock band called the Fugs, Fugs, back in the 60s. And he had a chapter the first time it came out in the Church of the Process Church of the Final Judgment and their connection to Manson, that the church actually sued him and he had to take that out. The Family by Ed Saunders. Find that if you want to know the closest to the truth you'll ever know about the Manson family.
Terrific. Well, there you go, guys. I have a couple quick announcements, and then we can let y'all go and get back to all the wonderful stuff you're doing. I know you're getting ready for holidays or trying to find ways to help other people or trying to help yourself get through whatever you're going through. But just know that you guys are not alone. We are here. We'll be back. I will be back next Sunday at 8 p.m. I believe I have my friend Scotty, the New Jersey medium, on. He's great. He's fun. He may be able to answer questions, do a couple of readings on the air. I don't know. I always say that with my medium friends because if they're having a day, I know he's got to work a night shift after the show, and I don't know how exhausted he gets or drained he gets when he has to do readings. So I don't want to promise ahead of time, but if I can, I'll see if I can get a couple of them in for you because he is a fantastic with reading. He's able to tell you, like, if you have something going on in your house and you just need him to do like a remote viewing, he's really good at that. He's a terrific investigator. He's an ex-Marine. He's a vet friend of mine. So you can tell when people, he's I don't want to tell you what he is currently. If he wants to, he can, but it's a tough job, and it takes a lot of discernment, and it's a little bit different, I think, when you've got somebody that's got that kind of discernment and training as a Marine and other things to go in and be an investigator. You have a different vantage point at it, and he really keeps a really good high vibrational feel about the whole thing. So that's next Sunday. Steve and I will be back here Monday, but I wanted to ask you for an idea, Steve. There's been a lot of people in our chat that's read our book. I know that Donnie just finished it, Laura and Jackie and a couple of others, and I thought it would be really neat. Donnie said he had some questions, so I thought it would be neat. Let's see if we can maybe get do you think we could encourage Donnie to maybe come on with us, with Steve and I, and talk about the book?
That. Donnie seems very
intelligent, yeah,
intelligent
and great questions,
knowledgeable around the same lines of stuff that we study. So
yeah,
I
I'd love to get a vantage point on that. I'd love to get a vantage point, and anybody that wants to call in that night, we can do another little call-in show like we did with, send out the link in the chat. If you want to come in and ask a question about the book or a story that something went on, that's the whole reason Steve and I wrote that. We wrote a book and you read something that gave you a story, that gave you an idea about one of the and Jose did as well. So Jose, if you want to call in, please do. This will be next Monday, I think, Steve. Let's see if we can do something like that.
You don't have to show your face. I mean, we'd like you to, but you can call in with just audio if you're shy.
Yeah. Oh, he said he'd be down. Great, Donnie. I'm not 100% sure, honey. I'm not near my calendar, but if it's not next Monday, if I don't have a guest scheduled, that might be the one where we got Artie, the angel guy, coming on with you and I. If not, we'll get it the next Monday, but I definitely want to schedule something like that because I think it'd be really cool to get those questions and find out, as we wrote it, did you guys pick up on it? And what did you think about the experiences? Because we get excited about that, don't we, Steve? Because we think another vantage point, wow, we might be able to try to, crack the code on some of these things that happened to us.
Always good to have a fresh set of eyes and beliefs and opinion on anything we talk about.
Right, so get ready for that, guys. If you
we
read the book,
work in a vacuum so much of the times we can't tell if what we're thinking is bullshit.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Come in, they show us something we hadn't even thought of. So
it's so exciting to do.
Always a good thing.
It's so exciting to do, and Donnie asks great questions, and I'd love to have him come on as our co-host, and anybody else that comes in, and get their ideas, even if it was something in the book that you don't believe happened or you're questioning it happened. I assure you it did, but I'm more than happy to talk to you. That's fine. Come on in and let's talk about it and see. If
have
it
a couple
matched up.
Yes, if you want to. How many
it'd be wonderful.
We can wrangle.
Yeah,
I've had as many as 8, but it gets rough after you get so many.
Yeah, you get so many, you can't really.
Get 2 or 3 is good though.
So let's plan on that in the next couple weeks. We're going to do that. Donnie, just get with Laura and or send me a messenger or whatever, or Steve, and so we've got you in there. And oh yeah, Sir Brian Bowden's here, a special roundtable. Absolutely, that's exactly what we're talking about. And Jose, I know you read it, and thank you again for that wonderful review.
And, Donnie has questions about our writing process. Mine, it's ass and seat and write. That's the that's the hardest part.
Yeah, and in this one, if we hadn't said it before, the way we did it, and it was, you want to talk about trust. I mean, how much do I trust this guy, right? I wrote a chapter. I sent Steve the chapter. He then wrote whatever came to his mind. I wanted it fresh and organic.
And then she had me hang on to it until they were all done.
Till they were all done, and then we put it all in the book. And it went as is. I didn't change a word he said.
And I told her, I said, you can throw the whole thing out if you need to. Change it. I can make it longer, make it shorter. But
it went just like it did.
You wrote was perfect. So
it's just perfect.
Can't get any better than that.
That's the way we put it out there in the universe. And that dovetails in.
And Cisco's frozen.
The land put out in the universe, I believe it's going to come back. Just like Tater said, good brings good, bad brings bad. And we can't stop Mother Nature. We can't stop different things from happening. We can only control how we react to it. And one of those things that's happening and is coming up quick on us is the holidays. And, that's one thing I've got as Christmas spirit. I've never had money. I've never, all those things that you think make you happy. But Christmas spirit, I was always able to dig down and find it. And it's like Laura said last night, it's the door you hold open for the stranger. It's the smile at the red light. It's the, the chance, at work where you can calm down an issue and just say, hey guys, can't we just get along kind of thing? Just doing whatever you can to help. So I did a little Christmas card for everybody. It is my Christmas card that I'm sending this year because I'll tell you, stamps went crazy. And, I just don't trust anything to get in the mail like it used to. So I did everybody a little Christmas card. It's my way of saying, hey, I know there's a lot of things going on, but you know what? we had a fantastic writer that wrote down in a little story called A Christmas Carol, which we all shared and watched last night together. If you didn't see that episode, please go back and watch last night. We all sat together and watched a fantastic version of A Christmas Carol, and it was a hand-drawn animation, and Alister Sim did the voice for Scrooge. It was fantastic. It was lovely sharing it all with you, and it inspired me to do this. So from me to you, from Steve and I, and Journey Through the Gate, we wish for you a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy. We wish you a merry... Uh-oh! Are you not feeling it? Is your bag of empty? I totally understand. It's been a really tough year. 100%. But still, there was something. It's not money. The Grinch stole all that, remember? He stole Christmas? But Christmas still came. Huh. I wonder why. Because you just need to get into the Christmas spirit. Remember this guy? The ghost of Christmas past? He showed us memories not too long ago. Are you still tangled up? Here's the ghost of Christmas present. And this guy is not playing. He showed us that now is so important. To cherish this time. To care. Ah. Look at that. Not enough yet? Okay. There's this guy. And he shows us that it can change. From this to this.
There you go.
See that? And Marley, the most important of the ghosts, reminding us we are accountable. Mankind is our business. And the magic is up to you. You make the magic, and the magic comes back to you. So Merry Christmas with love from Journey Through the Gate. And God bless us.
Bless us, everyone.
Everyone, including the animals.
Yeah.
I love you all so much. Steve, thanks so much for coming and spending this time with us.
I saw on Facebook somebody had posted the shortest version possible of A Christmas Carol. It was 3 panels. Mm-hmm. First panel, Ebenezer Scrooge says, "Christmas sucks." Next panel, there's these ghosts hovering over him and says, "You suck." And then the last panel says, "I love Christmas."
And that's it in a nutshell.
That's it in 3 panels.
That's it in a nutshell. Don't try not to suck.
Also, I wanted to point out something here. Johnny Mann said Atwa, ATWA in the chat. Maybe we'll get into that another time. That's the kinder, gentler side of Charles Manson. That's an organization that he founded, that his followers are still a part of, that still exists to this day.
Really?
Called Air, Trees, Water, and Animals. And he was one of the most conscientious of that. He would scold his followers for killing a scorpion out in the desert.
Oh, wow. Well, that's
we'll
very
about
Buddhist
that
as
at
well.
A later time, because he had good side to him too. I mean, yeah, he was a madman in some people's eyes, but he started a lot of nice things that people don't know about. So I think
well, like I said, I think they got a hold of him.
Sometimes he was a CIA asset. He was brainwashed and programmed, and
100%.
And the thing that sealed it for me is when Nixon proclaimed him guilty when he was going on trial. Manson held that up in court. He smuggled in a newspaper Nixon declares Manson guilty. And he changed that around. He said, well, I declare Nixon guilty of war crimes and all this. That should have been a mistrial right there.
Right there.
But the judge asked the jurors, some of them said, no, I was asleep. Somebody else said, I didn't see it. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Charlie didn't get a fair shake.
Yeah.
I mean, where would they have paroled him to? The moon? But still, there's a lot of that people don't know. And Johnny Mann's got it right there. He was used as a scapegoat. Tex Watson did the murders. And Texas
those murders.
Tell you that.
That's true.
I've written to Tex in jail before. Back in the 90s, I wrote a lot of these characters just to see if they would write back. Charles Manson wrote me a letter with the wildest reads you never imagined.
Wow.
It was pure Charlie. I was talking about computers and stuff in the letter. And he said, that's me, man. That's where I am. I said, I'm either a 1 or a 0, but that's me. I'm a 0 with a slash through it. That's where I'm at. There you go.
Wow.
He liked binary. How long did somebody never got it back? But anyway.
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine touching. We think it's so evil, but then again, I've seen people look at Oswald the same way and everything else, and I could tell you just from the experience, you'd be hard pressed to study the amount of Kennedy assassination detail that I've read over the years.
There's probably a way to tie Manson into that if we look deep enough.
I'm sure he was, definitely.
He was probably in Dallas that day.
I mean, a lot of these people, like Sirhan, just like we talked multiple times on the show, whether it's Ronnie, I almost said Ronnie James Dio. I was thinking of somebody else. Kennedy? No, I don't think he did. Wait a minute, was he involved in that?
Killed Kennedy. Did you know that? The Dead Milkmen had a song called "In Praise of Sha Na Na." Do you remember them?
I do remember Sha Na Na.
They were the headliners at Woodstock.
Were they really?
The headliners at Woodstock.
I remember their show.
The Dead Milkmen have a song called "In Praise of Sha Na Na." That's one of the lines. Sha Na Na killed the Kennedys. Sha Na Na were the first astronauts. There was all this crazy stuff.
Kind of like a Forrest Gump kind of thing.
You can move to Montana and listen to Santana, but you still won't be as cool as Sha Na Na. The Dead Milkmen.
The Dead Milkmen.
In Praise of Sha Na Na. Look it up. You'll laugh your ass off.
Glenn's still saying it's Yoko's fault. We all agree, Glenn.
Yep.
Yoko.
If we read tomorrow that Yoko passed away, we'll be like, sorry, Yoko.
I didn't even think about that. Steve, shut your mouth. We're going to get shut down. YouTube is going to go the most cursed show on TV.
Take Yoko and leave Jimmy Page. We offer up Yoko.
There you go. Oh, God. We're going to eat those words tomorrow. If you send me a message tonight, Steve, I just don't even know.
I feel bad about Mike Nesmith.
I do, too.
We didn't mean to
We didn't mean it. We didn't mean it. We were praising him. We put him up there and said he was the only musician out there that could play anything in the Monkees. Remember?
Peter Tork were the only ones.
Yeah.
Peter Tork is already dead. The only living monkey that we mentioned besides Mickey Dolenz, I think he's still alive, was Michael Nesmith. And we centered on him because his mother was the liquid paper or whiteout, whatever it was.
Right.
Heiress.
And I keep thinking it's paper clips or Post-it notes or Scotch tape, something like that. But anyway, guys, there you go. I'm just glad that I'm not rich and famous, and I didn't sign any contract. I almost did. I was in what was called you guys know America's Got Talent. Well, there was a thing in Nashville, Nashville's Got Talent, before it really started getting up big. And I'll tell you, what you go through to go into one of those shows, you just have no idea. It's days waiting, days you're in the studio waiting, and then you go through and you do your thing. And the best part about that was I was the only one. You could hire the band. You could bring a cassette tape and sing with it like a karaoke. I'll never forget this poor little girl all dressed in a little Indian outfit. And I'm looking at it and just thinking, oh my God. Because it was a store-bought in, what you would think of a Native American outfit would look like. But she's up there and she sang Desperado, just sang her heart out. But there was different stuff like that. But I just went up there and I walked quietly up with my guitar with a song I wrote, played it myself, sang myself, and I still made it 5th out of 500 and something people.
There you go.
And that made me feel good. And when at the very end, it was like I got one more thing to go through it. I just closed my eyes, put everything I had into it. When I opened my eyes, everybody jumped up and was clapping, and that was kind of a jury of an audience of my peers. They were all songwriters and stuff, and that's all I needed to win. They offered me a contract, and I read it, and I didn't sign it, and I walked away, because if I had signed it, I would not have even been able to sing Happy Birthday in my own living room. So
You
I
can't
never
sing
signed
that
it.
anyway. Paul McCartney owns the rights to it.
Does it?
He does.
But
He actually does.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I'm like, I'm not signing it. I got what I wanted. It sounded good. I'm going home, and I decided
Sometimes
to
it's
stay
just
with
an
my kids.
affirmation. Same thing when I went to the Jeopardy
stay with my
audition
babies.
in Raleigh, North Carolina a few years ago. I did the interview. Filled out all the paperwork and the questionnaires, played all the little games. Then they had a full game of mock Jeopardy. I went all the way through and won Final Jeopardy, but never got picked to be on the show. And they told you it's not about how well you play Jeopardy, but how well you fit the sponsor's demographic
Exactly.
at the time.
It's
But
so true.
the fact that I stood there in front of this room full of people, played all the way through a game of Jeopardy and won Final Jeopardy and bet the farm. I bet everything I had and doubled it.
There you go.
Yeah, but I guess they were scared to have me on it. like all our money.
Just know that a lot of this stuff you guys see on TV, I mean, even the court things and all that, people are set up and told to do things. I had a friend that used to work in our construction crew that was on that Judge Joe Brown twice as two different people. And they told him to act a fool and all this other stuff. So TV has just gotten to something totally different. I don't even watch that mess anymore.
It's all scripted.
I'd much rather be here with you
TV,
guys.
It's all made up.
I'd much rather be here with you guys. I love you all so much.
Yeah,
we will be back, and we're going to get out of here tonight. Remember to be kind. Remember Bill's link, and go to his YouTube, and that's where you're going to get the links to.
Missing Persons and Mysteries. Look on our community tab over there. There's links to donate, and Bill is actually putting it in the hands of those poor people.
Like I said, even get him a gas card so he can get around to help the people, or
anything
food.
helps.
I know this.
$10,
I'll tell you this:
whatever.
if you can get an address that is receiving, because think now the post office probably got hit, and package is going to be hard. But if Bill's got a place that you can send something, you could always go straight to Chewy, who is still getting their deliveries out. I know for a fact because I got one.
Sent to
Pet
Bill.
food
Bill
had
will
it
take
sent
it out into Kentucky.
right to him, or right to a no-kill shelter or something like that. It's not going to go to waste. So I love y'all. Do what you can. If you can't help those people, open the door for somebody else. Go check on a neighbor, and just do an act of kindness. And I love you all very much. What you put out there is going to come back to you, right, Steve?
That's right. You make sure you've got you're planting a harvest that you want to reap, because that's what you're going to get.
Absolutely true.
I'll see you tonight in about 5 hours, midnight Eastern time on 13 past midnight. If one of you mods would drop a link for that there.
There you go. So I love you all, and also
Monday.
Go in there and check out Steve's new book. Some jerkface got in there and gave him 1 star. I doubt if he even read it. So if you do read it, all Steve asks you is you just give him an honest review.
It was
Reviews
2
are
stars.
Everything.
It was some guy from Australia who it didn't have enough swear words in it for him, I think. But since then, it's got a lot more. It's still like 4 stars total because that 1 2-star took it down. But other than the one guy with hemorrhoids, it's gotten all good reviews.
There you go. I got that same guy with hemorrhoids on mine, too. Most of mine are lovely, lovely reviews, and I thank you all for them. Okay, everybody, that's it for tonight. We'll see you next Sunday. And, Donnie, don't forget about that. Get in touch with us, and we'll hook that all up, and we'll have a nice little show together. Indeed. So, everybody, be good, be kind, and definitely keep your feet under those covers and keep your closet door shut, because there are things that go and bump in the night. And just look under your bed. Make sure Charles Manson isn't under there tonight. Because that was pretty scary stuff.
Charles Manson.
Oh my goodness, that just awful.
On to his great reward. Sandy, drive careful. She's on the road to Colorado.
Oh, be careful, darling. We love you all.
Thanks to
good night, everybody.
Mods. Thanks to the mods and everybody. No Justice, No Peace. Some of you newer mods. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
and,
thank you. All my wrenches, my mods.
All my sergeants at arms here and my bodyguards. Thank you.
Yep. We have the most beautiful chat, and we have it because of the people in it and the people that keep it that way. Thank you so much. We love you. Good night, everybody. Be kind to one another. Be good humans.